Unfortunately, this is one of the things that Microsoft is going to have to deal with from this point forward. We're going to always question every single game that Microsoft has, every single game that, is quote unquote exclusive. And clearly, it's one of those things where there's a problem with the communication. And now the latest rumor is Avowed possibly coming to PS5. So it doesn't look like it's going to be an initial launch on PS5, but it does look like that's going to change as well. As you know, games like Sea of Thieves, Grounded, Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush was only a year out on Xbox before it launched on PlayStation. So everything kind of points to Avowed going to, Xbox at launch, and then at a specific time later switching over to PlayStation. And I know what people are thinking. Well, where's the proof of this? Right now it's a rumor, so take it with a grain of salt. But at the same time, we all have to kind of look at this and kind of admit that it makes sense. First of all, Avowed is a game that is not totally in a new IP kind of way. What I mean is, so if Microsoft is planning on putting games that have a history on PlayStation, then Avowed would probably be on PlayStation at some point, because let's just face it, right now we live in this kind of situation where Pillars of Eternity is in this same world. And if Pillars of Eternity is on PlayStation, ipso facto, then Avowed will likely be on PlayStation as well at some point. Obviously there's going to be tons of rumors that'll continue to kind of float around and kind of migrate around. Does that mean that they all will? Listen, I don't really know. It's really one of those things that we kind of look at and we'll question, like every single one of them. I've been questioning pretty much every game that Microsoft announces, and they don't do anything to kind of, help that, because they literally announce these games with no platform, or they'll say this game's coming to Game Pass, Xbox, and PC, and then we'll find out 5 minutes later or whatever that it's also coming to PlayStation 5, but they just don't put the PlayStation 5 stuff in the actual announcement of it. So, we're in this weird sort of situation with this stuff, and it's really a shame, because I've said this multiple times before. The Xbox platform is great, but if third parties are skipping it, if the first party games aren't going to be exclusive, then honestly, we realistically are in a terrible spot, as gamers, because it makes it that much less appealing to pretty much everyone, and I'm sitting here looking at this myself going, Microsoft really dropped the ball with some of this stuff, and I think the thing that I respect the least about it is the fact that gamers are the ones being kind of screwed over with this stuff, and Microsoft doesn't have the courage to go out there and say, okay, well, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, this is why we've got to do this. Just be upfront, and I think be direct about it. If you're gonna put Halo on PlayStation, have the guts. I honestly, that's how I pretty much feel about this. I think Avowed is a good looking game. I think everybody is kind of expecting it to be something that realistically is their own take on Elder Scrolls Skyrim. But does that mean that it would necessarily have to come to PlayStation? Like, for me personally, I don't think it needs to come to PlayStation, right? Like, it's just pretty clear with that. I honestly don't feel like it should come to PlayStation, because I feel like PlayStation has exclusives. Even if things are changing slightly, like, they haven't changed to where Xbox gets something in return for what they're giving out. And I think that's my biggest problem with it. Like, if everybody wants to share some games, I would say cool, great. You know, things, as long as there's still some exclusives, fine. Everybody's sharing, everybody's getting an equal piece of the pie. Great, that sounds cool to me, right? The fact of the matter is, when you had stuff like that Horizon Adventures, that Lego game, that's coming to everything but Xbox. You know, Nintendo is never going to put anything on Xbox. PlayStation obviously is never going to put anything to Xbox. So realistically, what we see is just Xbox owners getting the short end of the stick time and time again. You know, that's unfortunate. But, you know, I hope that something can change there. You know, I hope that anyway. So at the end of the day, Microsoft has, you know, obviously a lot to prove. I think one of the things is they don't have the credit with gamers like PlayStation and Nintendo do, and that still haunts them to this day. You know, it's a really unfortunate situation that they find themselves in, but it can be rectified. You just have to like do the right thing, and you've got to make sure that gamers have, you know, stuff to play, and the gamers have, you know, just a reason to kind of buy into the ecosystem. And I hate even using that word ecosystem, but you know, at the end of the day, it really is just a situation where you have to have cool things. You have to have reasons to buy into the platform, and you know, we're seeing less and less of that as time goes on, and that's unfortunate because what's going to happen next generation, like, and I've mentioned this in a couple other videos, you know, it's rumored that Microsoft might have some kind of PC stores on there. But if you're buying a PC version of a game on a quote-unquote Xbox, that's not in your Xbox library. Maybe you have to go to a different library. Or at the end of the day, though, that's not an Xbox game. You know, things are optimized specifically for that console. You know, regardless if you get an Xbox One X version or if you get an Xbox Series S version, it's still the same game, but it's in a situation where they've been optimized specifically for that console. PC is completely different, so that's why I'm very dubious on that whole thing. Plus, if you have that, developers can question it. Oh, well, why bother with an Xbox version? Why waste our time? They could just buy the Steam version or buy the Epic Games version. And I don't want to ever be put in that situation. But I'm very curious to hear what you guys all think about this. Do you care if Avowed goes to PlayStation? It does seem like a lot of this stuff might be timed exclusive to Xbox, you know, anywhere from, you know, 6 months to a year. You know, I feel like if they ever decide to start doing day and date, that's a real problem because, you know, it's obviously would take longer to get these games made. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.